management of celiac disease. In this topic, I'll be giving you the definitions of diarrhea. What is acute diarrhea? What is chronic diarrhea? And what is persistent diarrhea? And also what is intermittent diarrhea? Because many questions are asked in the topic of diarrhea and pediatrics, and every time they are coming up with a new pattern of question. So though many say, if it is pediatrics, please go and read 3 important things. One is you have to read diarrhea. You have to know how to treat a patient with malnutrition. And you also need to know a program called acute respiratory infection, ARI program. You need to be thorough with these 3 questions. Though I say only they're asking questions from these 3 questions, every time they're twisting the question, like they're coming up with a different definition, a different perspective, and latest development and all. So always you remember this dictum in medicine. Uncommon questions are always asked from common topics. Okay, uncommon questions are asked from common topics. You may think that it is getting repeated, but they'll add a touch of difficulty to it. Similarly, in clinical practice also the same thing happens. Though a patient comes with different manifestations, varied manifestations, most of the older age clinicians, they'll tell younger age people that please think of a common diagnosis, because common things always present in an uncommon way. So in India, if any person comes with fever, please put TB as a DD, because though this pattern of fever is not specific to TB, because India is a hub of TB, you have to do that. So this is the basic stuff you need to understand. So I'll be giving you the definitions, and I'll be discussing the malabsorption syndromes differential diagnosis here, and a touch of what is gluten-free diet, and how do you assess an improvement of a patient with celiac disease. These are the references I have taken from the Guy and Nelson and Harrison. Don't worry about all this. Just for pediatrics, Guy is more than enough. OP Guy, Essentials of Pediatrics. These are the questions which got repeated. We are following our cycle. Whenever I discuss a topic, I'll give you the repeats thing. Just focus here. A 4-year child has presented with diarrhea, persistent diarrhea, common causes of chronic thing. And also they're asking the management of celiac disease, diagnosis of celiac disease, management of celiac disease. So this is asked. Celiac disease is important, and malabsorption syndromes are important, and also diarrhea is important. Please focus here. I'll give you the definitions of diarrhea. Before that, observe this cycle. It's a vicious cycle which happens with the diarrhea. If there is a baby or a child with diarrhea, the big problem is diarrhea leads to loss of energy. Loss of energy leads to malnutrition, and malnutrition leads to prone for infections, and infections will again cause diarrhea, and this will continue, and high mortality in under 5 children. The cause is diarrhea along with respiratory infections. The cause is diarrhea. So to break this vicious circle, I'm mentioning this vicious circle because when I observe pediatric questions, the whole of the question initially starts with diarrhea, but at the end when they're asking about the management, most of the students are writing only the management of diarrhea, like how do you give ORS, what are the things you do, but people are not focusing on the malnutrition aspect. Not even a single point mentioned about vitamin supplementation, zinc supplementation, carbohydrate diet, because in the exams they're twisting this question. So diarrhea is important, acute severe malnutrition, severe protein energy malnutrition, that is also important. So both the things you need to write in a crisp and easy way. And by doing that, you will be differentiated in the eyes of the examiner, because you have noted that. So see whether they're asking management of diarrhea or management of malnutrition, or the subject in the question, the patient in the question, the baby in the question, does he or she have both the diarrhea and malnutrition components? Because if you add that point, you will ace the exam. Okay, so very important. They'll ask these questions, but in a different way. In the end, I will show you the analysis of all the 3 questions which I have shown you, so that you will better understand what I'm trying to convey to you. Okay, so what is diarrhea? Diarrhea definition, they'll ask in the viva of our MBBS final exam, right? What is diarrhea? It is defined as change in consistency and frequency of stools. That is, consistency should be liquid or watery, and frequency should be more than 3 times a day. And if the same diarrhea if you exam the next question, whenever a patient say I'm having loose stools, they'll come with the complaints of loose stools. So consistency part is gone. The next question is the frequency. You have to ask. If they say more than 3 times a daily, the next question should be, is it bloody? Is there any blood in the stool or mucus in the stool? So blood or mucus in the stool will give you an idea of dysentery. Okay, very important. So what is dysentery? Yes, the diarrhea definition will continue here. Along with that, there will be associated blood in the stools. And you see acute diarrhea, the timeline is more than 2 weeks. If these symptoms, that is loose stools for more than 3 times a day, if they're continuing for more than 2 weeks, then we call it as persistent diarrhea. What is that? Persistent diarrhea is acute diarrhea which is continuing or persisting for more than 2 weeks. Chronic diarrhea. What is chronic diarrhea? Before telling you this, just observe this question. Define persistent diarrhea in under 5 children. You know how to define it, more than 2 weeks. How is it different from chronic diarrhea? Okay, so let's see how it is different from chronic diarrhea. Chronic diarrhea is also like persistent diarrhea, but a patient has diarrhea which is acute in onset, and this is continuing for more than 2 weeks. This is case 1. Next is a patient is having diarrhea, but this is insidious in onset, that he may not be having diarrhea daily, but it is slowly, like today 3, next day 4, next day 5. So like that, it is an insidious onset, and also the duration is more than 2 weeks. So insidious onset diarrhea for a duration of more than 2 weeks is chronic diarrhea, that is in children. Insidious diarrhea for more than 4 weeks is a chronic diarrhea in adults. So this is the definition. So this part, the insidious stuff, will differentiate a persistent diarrhea from, based on the single point, they gave you 4 marks in that exam. Is it acute or insidious? Though it looks simple, unless you observe this, you will not identify the difference. Along with this, why do you need to differentiate the persistent diarrhea from chronic diarrhea? Persistent diarrhea is most probably infectious in etiology, because it is like it started from an acute or active episode. Insidious diarrhea is more or less because of malabsorption syndromes or any dietary allergy. Patient might be having that, or maybe because of sequelae of recovery. The patient might be entering this sequence again. He may be recovering because of the malnutrition, one small infection again. So this cycle is continuing. So the cause is different, etiology is different, how you manage the patient is different based on this simple point. Is it insidious or acute in onset? So that is the reason they gave high priority to that, and that is the reason I am stressing on the definitions of diarrhea. Sure shot question. Without diarrhea, there is no question. I have examined all the papers. They're asking it mandatorily, but you need to understand this difference. So the term chronic diarrhea is not synonymous with the persistent diarrhea. Then what is intermittent diarrhea and which condition it is seen? It is out of scope, but someday they may ask you what are the causes of intermittent diarrhea and all, right? So you should be well prepared for that. So intermittent diarrhea, there will be some episodes of diarrhea, but in between what you have is constipation. That is what happens in irritable bowel syndrome, right? This is not inflammatory bowel disease. IBD in the sense it is irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. Diarrheal episodes, and in between you will have a constipation. So IBS, diarrhea, constipation, it is intermittent diarrhea. So with this, whatever brief discussion of 5 minutes, hope you'll have a clarity on this definitions which play a crucial role in writing correct answers. So I told you, right, malabsorption syndromes. I'll also give you the differential diagnosis for this. But try to observe this picture. Pictures are important, flowcharts are important. You have to draw this. When there is a question on celiac disease, if you don't show the flat villi, intestine has villi, right? But celiac disease, what happens? They become flat. So this flatness, if you don't show it, flat and destructive villi, they'll not give you marks. So these are the stages of celiac disease which are not important, but make sure that the flat villi is a significant feature in histology of the celiac disease. So I went into different books to give you a differential diagnosis for malabsorption syndrome because I thought it is easy to give DD. So when I say malabsorption, one thing that comes into my mind is malabsorption is celiac disease. First is that. And I also have a tropical sprue in mind. There was one more disease which was in mind. It is Whipple's disease. These are given in Davidson's textbook of general medicine. And there was one more, what was it? Lactase intolerance. Okay, lactase deficiency leading to lactose intolerance. And A-beta lipoproteinemia. These are the few things which comes into any student who is preparing for PG or who is a post-intern. These are the differential diagnosis. But you go to pathology, they'll give you differential diagnosis based on the pathological feature. If you go to Nelson's textbook of pediatrics, they'll do the same. And if you even open Harrison, they are also differentiating or giving a DD based on the pathological aspects. So the malabsorption syndromes, the examples are, one is autoimmune enteropathy, second is tropical sprue, third one is giardiasis, which is an infection, and Giardia lamblia will cause it, HIV enteropathy, Crohn's disease, eosinophilic gastroenteritis, this is very important, GVHD, and even flat mucosa is a feature seen in PEM because the villi are not growing because of lack of nutrition. So you'll also see flat mucosa, tuberculosis, and lymphoma. So these are all the DDs for flat mucosa. There are different aspects which we'll be touching in the future. But for celiac disease, because it has flat mucosa, you have to remember the DD like this. Only the bolder ones, please remember, they are more important. Let me give you the management aspects of celiac disease in a nutshell. What is the other name for celiac disease? Because that will give you the management, right? Only single word, single keyword, which will fetch you, which will give you 5 marks in the exam because they're asking the management of celiac disease. There was this problem when I'm doing my internship or preparing for MBBS finals. There is a common question, management, and we only write treatment. Management includes both investigations to come to a final diagnosis and also the treatment part. Please, when they ask about management, make sure that you write investigations. So that is the reason I put forth the DD, how it looks and all, because I follow that principle. And if you follow that principle, whenever a question on management is asked, that will fetch you more marks in the exam, because the correcting people, the examiners, they're all well versed with all this stuff. Okay, they're experienced, they know how to differentiate you from another doctor who is also preparing. But make sure that when management is asked, please make a note on the investigations part. So here the investigation is biopsy and the DD I mentioned. Because it is a flat villi, I'll go with the celiac disease. It is gluten sensitive enteropathy. When I say gluten sensitive, gluten is present in the following diets, which is mentioned here. You have to just simply mention that avoid wheat, rye, barley, and spelt. Okay, so you're preparing for civil services, and when I say wheat, rye, barley, most of the time they'll ask you, right, where it is grown, like which conditions are favorable for it, which geographical area. So wheat, rye, barley, and spelt should be avoided. Okay, which are recommended are rice is recommended, soya beans, maize, potatoes, millets. Don't write oats because there is a lot of confusion around oats. Most of the times, oats are mixed with the gluten. There will be like what we call contamination of oats with gluten, they say. So they are contaminated most of the times. Some books say give oats, some books say don't give oats. But I follow Nelson's for pediatrics, and pediatrics, they clearly say there is a dilemma around the oats. So let me not confuse you, because this much of clarity is not important for our medical sciences. So let me remove this. Please remember 5. RSM, PM, rice, soybeans, maize, potatoes, millet. Just write this in the exam, you'll get marks. But before that, mention this statement. Managing celiac disease mainly consists of maintaining a lifelong gluten-free diet. But please, they're asking this question for 5 marks. And if you give only this 2, they may give you 2 marks. So we all need to add an extra weightage to it. So how will you assess an improvement? Management includes improvement also, a prognosis also. So how will you assess it? Whenever you stop taking gluten, if you're a patient of this problem and if you're stopping it, And if I am the doctor who is treating a patient will ask you, when will my child improve? Child clinical improvement takes 2 weeks. So if they come back in 1 week, don't encourage a differential diagnosis, a different diagnosis, and start treating like with antibiotics and all. That will only aggravate the symptoms. You have to wait for 2 weeks to see the clinical improvement. If you have diagnosed celiac disease, clinical improvement is followed by histological improvement. This is tricky, and this is a very important point what I'm putting here. I told you, right, you'll have a flat mucosa. After the treatment, the villi will come back. You can confirm the diagnosis retrospectively. Don't do any biopsy initially. Like most of the times what we do, you have to see the clinical improvement. But if you want to confirm the diagnosis for more specific, you have to compare pre-clinical biopsy specimen with the post-clinical one. And it takes around months to show histological improvement here. And a good doctor will always write supplementation with other things, because malabsorption syndrome leads to most of the times deficiency with fat soluble vitamins and also nutrients, and the patient will have diarrhea. Please add a note on all these things, because most of the times we are more focused towards a specific approach. When you're writing answers in UPSC, you need a generic approach. Okay. So gluten-free diet means, I don't think this is important. This is a research point, because during my practice of medicine, someone asked me, like, there is a patient of celiac disease. I told them gluten-free diet. They said, is right, when I give rice, is it completely devoid of gluten? No. Each and every element which I mentioned will contain gluten. So what is that value which differentiates a gluten-full diet from gluten-free diet? It is less than 20 parts per million. This is the statement. More important for MCQs, may not be important for you, but because management of celiac disease, they're asking along with the diarrhea. If you write this point, it will fetch you more marks. So I'll read this question, because I'm stressing this because a 4-year-old male child is admitted with history of diarrhea, pain of abdomen and vomiting. He had taken treatment from various practitioners without significant improvement, and the patient is having chronic diarrhea here, right? And on examination, there is also protein allergy malnutrition. So all the possible causes of this condition, you have to mention the causes of chronic diarrhea. In the investigations, you have to investigate diarrhea and also PEM. And they're asking management of celiac disease here. In general, they'll also ask you either how to manage chronic diarrhea, like what they asked here, the causes of diarrhea and dietary management of persistent diarrhea. So just focus on this. PEM and diarrhea are interrelated.